that's trying to throw you off of it. You have to understand this battle is spiritual. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in Elohim, for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Messiah, and being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. In 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 through 6. You need to understand that what we are up against first is spiritual, and then often after it manifests in the physical. But it's all spiritual. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. That's Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. So if you're going to be serious about Yah and serving him, now is the time to do what his word says and put on the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. That's Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11. Let's talk about this armor. Verse 13 of Ephesians chapter 6 says, "Therefore, take up the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand." Again, why must we put on the complete armor of Elohim? So that we may be able to successfully resist and stand our ground in the evil day, when our opponents are coming against us with their schemes, strategies, and deceits. What does withstand mean? It means to remain undamaged or unaffected, or offer strong resistance and opposition. We need the armor so that we are not affected by our spiritual opponents. Our spiritual armor is for our spiritual opponents. So we can see from these few scriptures why there is so much defeat amongst the body of believers. The majority does not look at it in this way, and today you are going to. This armor is not just a cliche or a hashtag, it is actual armor. If you are in a war, would you not go to battle without your armor and all your gear? The next verses are going to tell you what your armor is. Verse 14 says, "Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness." Okay, so now we have two pieces of armor. These will help you stand your ground against the enemy. You have a belt of truth. This means you have the moral courage to stand up for what is right and stand against what is wrong, no matter what. This truth allows you to stand your ground. This is important to know because there are many that are not able to stand their ground, and that's often because there are many truths that they do not know or understand, and they are deceived already by the wiles of the devil. As you strengthen your walk, you must stand in truth. Every time you allow lies to enter in, that belt gets looser and looser until you can't even wear it. And that's the point where Satan loves to attack from. That's why he tries to have us living in lies, and that's why we must focus on living in the truth, even if the truth is uncomfortable and you are the only one living in it that's around you. And because of that, you are made to seem crazy to everyone else. It doesn't matter. We must live in the truth, and not just the truth that we want to accept. Okay, so the next part of the armor that helps you withstand your ground is the breastplate of righteousness. What is this? This is an upright heart, morally erect, having the rightness of principles and conduct, being honest and just. You are seeking to do the true will of the Father. This piece of armor that goes against your chest protects you from the hard blows when you're tempted to sin and go against Yah. This breastplate will protect your heart and not allow you to succumb to wickedness. You should know, the more sin you engage in, the weaker this breastplate of honor becomes. Focus on being the righteousness of Elohim at all times, and this piece of armor will protect you. But listen, if you keep feeling attacked, you need to review your life and remove sin out of it. You are not protected if you can't wear your armor. Verse 15 says, "And having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace." These would be your boots, the boots of the gospel. Let me ask you, have you tried to stand your ground barefooted compared to with good shoes like a boot? The shoes prepare you to face the enemy with a firm-footed stability and readiness that is only produced by the gospel. The gospel is our foundation, so it only makes sense that this is where it is placed on our armor. You must know and understand the gospel if you're going to withstand the enemy. You need to understand it away from religion and Hellenized influences. You must accept the God of Israel, Yahuwah, for who he truly is, and not how he has been painted to be over these false centuries. You need to know the Messiah you serve. You also need to know that most people that say that they believe in Jesus are actually speaking about Tammuz, whether knowingly or unknowingly. They believe in the Son of God who was born on December 25th, that saves us and doesn't require anything from us. That is not Yahusha. That is Tammuz. This does not match Yahusha the Messiah of the Bible, and you need to separate yourself from those false beliefs. So many believers lose the spiritual battle because they only know important verses like John 3:16, but not much more than that. And then the devil comes in with his wiles and moves the believer from their foundation. You must know the gospel. Verse 16 says, above all, take the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. Notice, it says, above all. This makes this piece of armor very important. Have you ever seen a sword fight with someone who does not have a shield? They are unprotected. The shield of faith is lifted up to protect you and to extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. It is used to put out the fiery missiles, the lies thrown by the enemy. What is faith? Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Verse 6 of Hebrews 11 says, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that comes to Elohim must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And then, if we keep reading in the same chapter, verses 33 through 35 will show you some of the things that have been done through people who had faith. They subdued kingdoms. They administered justice. They obtained promised blessings, closed the mouth of lions. They extinguished the power of fire, escaped the edge of a sword, out of weakness were made strong, became mighty and unbeatable in battle. Women received back their dead from resurrection, and others were tortured, refusing to accept release so that they would be resurrected to a better life. This is what the power of faith can do. But not having enough faith is a problem for many believers today. They are not carrying their shields. They don't have enough faith. And when the enemy engages against them and starts sending his lies their way and his attacks, they lose their belief. They no longer believe the same way and believe that doubt is actual knowledge. One instance you can know and see is from when we had the pandemic. How many of these people that were in the churches left their faith and believed in everything else through science? People still to this day wearing those masks, thinking that that is what protects them, when the masks weren't even about protecting them, but it was about protecting others from them. But I digress. Let me not lose track here. It just bothers me every time I see these people out here with no understanding, but then they feel that they have faith. Again, when the enemy engages them and starts sending his lies their way, they lose their belief. They no longer believe the same way and believe their doubt is actual knowledge. They've just been hit by the enemy's weapon and they never had anything to shield them from it. You must have your shield of faith, because this is what gets tested the most. The devil loves proving that our faith is not true and sincere. Be strong in your faith and those darts will never reach you. Verse 17 says, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim. Okay, so this is your helmet, which is at the top, protecting your head. This is your salvation. Your salvation should always be at the forefront of your mind. It will keep your priorities in order. Your weapon is the word. You should know this is the only weapon you have been given. All the other armor is used for protection, but the sword is your weapon to fight against your enemy. What is your weapon? Scripture. This is how you fight against the devil and his minions. The word of Elohim is sharper than any double-edged sword, and this is what you use against your enemy. This is the main reason why the enemy does not want you to know Scripture or read it. This is your weapon against him. Of course he doesn't want you to know how to use it. This is why the most important thing you can do every day is read his word. Place his word in your mind and have it live on the inside of you. Soak yourself up in His Word. This is your weapon, your sword. Every time you gain knowledge and strength in the Scriptures, you are sharpening it. It's a wonderful thing. I know people tell you to focus on key verses, and I get that. But you need to know what the Word says and where to find what you're looking for when you need to use it. This only comes from continuous study and diligence. Sharpen your sword. Lastly, verse 18 says, praying always with prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. Okay, supplication is the action of asking or begging for something earnestly or humbly. You must pray and ask for what you want earnestly and humbly in the Spirit at all times. You must stay alert and pray with all perseverance. Perseverance is doing something despite the difficulty or the delay in achieving the success. So though things may get difficult and you may see a delay in the results, you still must continue praying. He wouldn't have told you to persevere if He wanted you to think that everything was going to be easy. But yet so many of us lose faith because things aren't happening quick enough for us. That's not faith. Now, for everyone engaging in this spiritual battle, there is a spiritual warfare prayer that I use that I recommend all who want to break away from the enemy should pray. It is a very powerful prayer, and it will help you break free from the enemy. The link to the prayer is in the description box. If you're struggling and you feel that you're in a spiritual battle and you're being attacked, read this prayer aloud. Also, you need to remove idols in your life and remove yourself from relationships that are not healthy. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Step away from those that are not placing Yah first. You need to strengthen your relationship with Yah first and make that the priority. Now, as far as what